One of my fondest memories growing up was discovering the classic Universal monster movies. I remember exactly when my curiosity started, and that was when The Mummy from 1999 came out in theaters. When I was finally able to see the movie on DVD, I was fascinated by the special features included on the disc. It was there when I came to find out that this Mummy film was a remake of the Universal Studios' The Mummy from 1932, starring Boris Karloff. My interest was immediately sparked, and I started getting my hands on as many of these movies as I possibly could. This included my next pick on my list, The Bride of Frankenstein from 1935, directed by James Whale. This science fiction horror film was the first sequel to Frankenstein from 1931, which was also directed by Whale. The film immediately takes place after the events of the first film, with the subplot from Mary Shelley's novel being the main focus of the story. The plot follows Henry Frankenstein as he attempts to abandon his plans of creating life, only to be tempted by his old mentor, Dr. Pretorius, and threats from the original creation into constructing a mate for the monster. James Whale initially refused to direct, believing he had squeezed the idea dry with the first film. However, after the success of Whale's The Invisible Man from 1933, producer Carl Laemmle Jr. realized that Whale was the only one to direct the sequel. Whale would later take advantage of the situation, persuading the studio to let him make his drama mystery One More River in 1934. Whale believed that he would not be able to top the first film and decided to make it more of a memorable hoot. Much of the over-the-topness or camp aspects of the film come from the character of Dr. Pretorius, played brilliantly by Ernest Thesiger in one of the most memorable performances of the entire film. For this specific role, sources say that many actors were considered for the part, including Bela Lugosi and Claude Rains. However, many other sources say that the role of Pretorius was specifically created for Thesiger. Boris Karloff and Colin Clive returned to their original roles as Frankenstein and the monster. Clive was a well-known alcoholic, and by this time his drinking had worsened. Whale, however, did not want to replace the actor, as he felt that the hysterical quality of the character and what Clive could bring to the performance was necessary. Actress Mae Clarke, who originally played Elizabeth in the first film, was replaced by Valerie Hobson due to ill health. Elsa Lanchester was chosen by Whale to play both the monster's mate and the author of the novel Mary Shelley. This decision was made because Whale wanted to represent how the story and horror in general springs from the dark side of imagination. To me, this is the Empire Strikes Back of horror movie sequels before there was even an Empire Strikes Back. It's a sequel that really shouldn't work, but because of Whale's confidence as a filmmaker and the studio basically letting him do what he wanted to do, we have a film that not only stands on its own, but in my opinion surpasses the original. This film is littered with beautiful gothic imagery. The camera feels more mobile in certain sequences rather than being stationary compared to the first one. The film feels bigger in scale, and the set design is more elaborate. While all performances are wonderful on their own, there are two performances that I believe are the show stealers. The first one is the performance of Ernest Thesiger as Dr. Pretorius. Thesiger is clearly having a ball, chewing up the scenery in every moment he's on screen. He plays to perfection a man who's obsessed with creating life just as much as Frankenstein, but takes it to a whole new level. One of my favorite sequences is when Pretorius is showing Frankenstein his own experiments of several homunculi that he has created.
My first experiment was so lovely that we made her a queen. Charming, don't you think?
It definitely feels like a performance that belongs on the stage, but the over-the-top acting from Thesiger adds great contrast to Clive's very straight performance. And finally, just a personal highlight, I have always loved this quote from Pretorius.
To a new world of gods and monsters.
The second performance, and most important one, is Boris Karloff as the monster. Karloff brings excellent pathos to the role. Throughout the film, the character is wandering alone, looking for some form of companionship wherever he can find it while being hunted by the people who want to destroy him. This leads to one of the most touching sequences of the film, where the monster stumbles upon a blind man who is also looking for friendship. The two share a touching moment which brings the monster to tears.
Our Father, I thank thee, that in thy great mercy thou hast taken pity on my great loneliness, and now out of the silence of the night hast brought two of thy lonely children together, and sent me a friend to be a light to mine eyes, and a comfort in time of trouble. Amen.
The monster also speaks in the film, which Karloff was against.
I love dead, hate living.
You're wise in your generation.
Speech, stupid. My argument was that if the monster had any impact or charm, it was because he was inarticulate. This great, lumbering, inarticulate creature. The moment he spoke, you might as well play it straight. I think history has proven Karloff wrong in this regard. I think giving the monster the ability to speak helps the audience connect and relate more to the character and helps us understand the struggles he is going through. But more importantly, all of these events, including learning to speak, show us the character is able to evolve and become more than society has deemed him to be. This is a fun, gothic, and campy film that still holds up today. The performances, directing, camera work, sets, and storytelling are all top-notch and surpass the original in every way. This is one of my favorite horror films and sequels of all time, and I think if you give it a shot, you'll have a great time.